our bodies maintain an illusion of seamless automation. We walk from a freezing street into a heated room, and our core temperature adjusts. We skip a meal, and stored glucose is deployed to keep us upright. These corrections happen continuously, without a single conscious thought. To understand how this works, we have to look at the body's first communication network, the nervous system. This network operates on speed. It relies on localized electrical impulses to deliver an intense burst of information in milliseconds. But the body also relies on a second communication network, the endocrine system. Instead of electricity, this system uses chemical messengers called hormones, which travel through the bloodstream to enact sustained systemic changes. Physiologically, these two systems are incompatible. Electricity is instantaneous and localized. Hormones are slow and circulating. This creates a mechanical problem. For the organism to survive, transient electrical data, a sudden fright, a drop in outside temperature, a stressful thought, must somehow be converted into a specific chemical state. Bridging that mind-body gap requires a highly specialized translation engine. We can locate that engine here. By stripping away the outer neocortex, we expose the diencephalon, sitting directly above the brainstem and below the thalamus. This glowing node is the hypothalamus. It is roughly the size of an almond. Yet despite its small footprint, it functions as the smart control coordinating center for the entire body. It continuously receives data streams from the peripheral nervous system. These pathways carry signals about the external environment, temperature, light, and physical stress. Simultaneously, it processes incoming signals from the brain itself, receiving information regarding cognitive states and emotional distress. The hypothalamus synthesizes these complex data streams into a single objective, homeostasis. It processes the variables and calculates exactly what the body needs to maintain a stable internal balance. It enforces this balance using two distinct mechanisms: direct manipulation of the autonomic nervous system and the orchestration of specific hormone cascades. This synthesis ensures that critical internal processes remain synchronized with the ever-changing conditions of the outside world. The hypothalamus is constantly auditing vital metrics. It acts as an internal thermostat and pressure gauge, reading the exact state of your body in real time. When it detects a discrepancy, it can deploy its first output vector, direct intervention via the autonomic nervous system. This neural pathway bypasses conscious thought, allowing for instantaneous, automatic adjustments to survival functions. If you are suddenly frightened, the hypothalamus uses this interface to immediately elevate your heart rate and respiration, preparing the body for physical action. But autonomic control only provides immediate survival reflexes. It lacks the chemical mechanism necessary to enact long-term changes, like growth or reproduction. This schematic shows the second control vector, the endocrine interface. To achieve chemical control, the hypothalamus utilizes the pituitary gland, which sits directly below it. The pituitary consists of two distinct operational units, the anterior lobe and the posterior lobe. Looking at the posterior lobe, we see a direct physical connection. This tissue bridge is called the pituitary stalk. The operational logic here is highly specific. The hypothalamus manufactures certain hormones internally, but it does not release them into the brain. Instead, it moves them down the stalk for storage in the posterior pituitary. The first of these stored hormones is oxytocin. Oxytocin has a broad systemic influence. It stimulates uterine muscle contractions during birth, triggers the release of breast milk, and modulates complex human behaviors like bonding and trust. The second stored hormone is vasopressin, also known as antidiuretic hormone. Vasopressin regulates your blood pressure and controls the volume of water and urine your body retains. The posterior pituitary operates as a dedicated holding facility. The chemicals wait there until the hypothalamus sends the exact neural signal required to release them into the bloodstream. The anterior pituitary operates on different mechanics. It lacks the direct neural connection of the posterior side. Instead, the body uses an anatomical workaround, a specialized network of blood vessels that bridge the gap between the two structures.
The hypothalamus utilizes this vascular network to send releasing hormones. These are biochemical signals that instruct the anterior lobe to begin secreting its own hormones. To stimulate physical growth, the hypothalamus sends growth hormone releasing hormone, or GHRH, down the vascular transit system. When GHRH is detected, the anterior pituitary responds by manufacturing and releasing a different molecule, growth hormone, which circulates into the general bloodstream. Growth hormone then travels to its ultimate targets, specifically the long bones and large muscles, to stimulate cellular growth. The anterior pituitary functions as a chemical amplifier. It takes a localized signal from the brain and translates it into a system-wide growth response. We see the same routing logic in human reproduction. The process starts when the hypothalamus releases gonadotropin-releasing hormone, or GnRH. GnRH commands the anterior pituitary to release two distinct hormones simultaneously, follicle-stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone. In males, luteinizing hormone travels to the gonads, triggering the testes to produce testosterone. Simultaneously, follicle-stimulating hormone acts to control sperm production. In females, LH and FSH work in tandem. Together, they regulate the menstrual cycle and trigger the release of an egg from the ovary. The entire architecture of sexual maturity and reproduction is directed through this single hypothalamic command. The system also manages environmental crisis. Under stress, the hypothalamus initiates a chemical cascade by releasing corticotropin-releasing hormone, or CRH. CRH hits the pituitary, which releases ACTH into the body. This signals the adrenal glands to output the stress hormone cortisol, regulating your metabolic and immune response. Beside it sits the metabolic axis, initiated by thyrotropin-releasing hormone, or TRH. TRH triggers the pituitary to release TSH, which commands the thyroid gland to output T3 and T4, the hormones that drive cellular metabolism. By managing both the adrenal and thyroid axes from the same location, the brain can simultaneously regulate your response to a crisis and your long-term energy use. A control system cannot function strictly by accelerating processes. True regulation requires the ability to apply the brakes and halt a chemical cascade. The hypothalamus produces specific inhibitory hormones to accomplish this. Dopamine, for instance, acts as a targeted inhibitor that signals the pituitary to stop releasing prolactin, halting the production of breast milk. For broader regulation, the hypothalamus deploys somatostatin. Somatostatin serves as a wide-spectrum inhibitory hormone. When released, it suppresses the secretion of growth hormone, thyroid-stimulating hormone, and even insulin. Homeostasis is ultimately a delicate act of subtraction. The body achieves stability by applying these inhibitory chemical brakes before an axis spirals out of balance. The interconnected nature of these axes becomes obvious when we examine pathology. When this master node is damaged, we see the downstream effects of hypothalamic dysfunction. If the behavioral input pathways fail and the hypothalamus cannot recognize the sensation of being full, patients develop Prader-Willi syndrome, resulting in a constant urge to eat and profound weight gain. These clinical symptoms, obesity, dehydration, and delayed puberty, can all be traced back to distinct microscopic point failures within this single biological routing table. Beyond genetic defects, structural threats like brain tumors, traumatic injuries, or radiation therapy can sever these delicate axes, causing conditions like central hypothyroidism. Your sleep rhythms, your mood, the growth of your bones, and your core temperature all rely on the processing power of this almond-sized structure. The hypothalamus proves that nothing in human biology operates in isolation. It serves as the master node that seamlessly translates the electrical will of the mind into the physical reality of the body.